So this video was originally going to be cleansers and toners all together because I figured I probably wasn't going to have enough to say just about cleansers. And then I Googled cleansers for mature skin, and I have some thoughts. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to what I'm calling Cleansers 101, or watch me have a breakdown later in the video over the crazy crap people say about aging skin. But give us some time, we'll get to that. I wasn't even aware that people needed help with understanding cleansers until I was talking to a friend of mine. Names will be withheld to protect the guilty. And she mentioned that she would at times go to bed with a full face with her makeup on and wake up the next morning and touch up what was left and go on with her day. I was appropriately horrified. It hadn't occurred to me that there are people out there who don't know how to properly cleanse and don't do it on a regular basis. I mean, full disclosure, I, on occasion, will fall asleep with my makeup on and get up a few hours later and have to take it off. So come for me, sacrifice me on the pillory if you need to. So I do occasionally do that, but the thought of going to bed with makeup on and then waking up and going on with your life from there, I didn't realize such things happened, but they do. So there apparently is a need for this kind of information, and especially with regards to aging skin, because there are some particular benefits to cleansing for us folks with aging skin, but there are benefits for all of us, and we'll get there. But before we get to the part where I have a conniption over some of the verbiage that I found and some of the listicles, etc., let's lay the foundation. Let's talk about, why do we need to cleanse our skin? Why do we even need to wash our filthy faces? And if you're thinking it's only because you're wearing makeup, that is not correct. We actually need to clean our faces because our faces, all of our skin actually, is picking up a lot of stuff as we go about our life in the world. And that has nothing to do with if we're putting makeup on or not. Whether you're wearing makeup or not wearing makeup, your face is picking up all sorts of wonderful things like dirt, dust, oil, pollutants, bacteria, viruses, and of course those wonderful ever-present dead skin cells. Yes, your skin is picking up bacteria and viruses in addition to everything else. And that is irregardless of whether you are wearing makeup or not. So you need to cleanse your face because your face is picking up all sorts of crap when you're going out there and living your life in the world. So that is probably the number one reason that we need to wash our dirty faces, is because our faces are absolutely filthy just from living life. Also, cleansing does a few other important things. It manages the pH level of our skin, and the pH level of our skin should be slightly acidic, anywhere from 5.5 to 5.8. And if we're not properly cleansing our skin with the correct kind of products and in the correct way for the type of skin that we have and our concerns, then it's not going to be in that sweet spot. And that can damage our skin. It can cause irritation and other nasty stuff to happen. So you want to maintain that pH level. It also maintains the acid mantle of the skin. And you might be wondering, what is an acid mantle? That almost doesn't sound right, but it is actually a pretty important thing. So let me explain. The skin should be slightly acidic. Well, the acid mantle is a layer that's on top of the skin, that slightly acidic layer, 5.5 to 5.8. And what it does is it acts as a barrier to bacteria, viruses, pollutants, etc. I mentioned that your skin is picking up all this crap. Well, if you don't have an acid mantle, if you don't have a properly maintained acid mantle, then that stuff has entry points to get into your skin. So you want to maintain that pH level and that acid mantle. So when your skin is in that slightly acidic state and you have a healthy functioning acid mantle, your skin is better able to resist a lot of the stuff that's being thrown at it. So cleansing is part of that. A proper cleansing routine is part of that. Also, cleansing will prevent the buildup of dead skin cells, and it allows your skin's natural oils to circulate properly. Your skin, of course, produces oils. It may produce more or less, depending on whether you have an oilier or a drier type of skin, But all of our skins produce oil, and you want to be able to let that oil properly circulate. A good cleansing routine will allow that to happen in the proper way. If it doesn't happen, if you are blocking the skin by allowing things to build up on it, like going to bed with makeup on and waking up the next day and putting more makeup on top or whatever, even if you're not wearing makeup and you're not cleansing, those dead skin cells and the dirt and the other stuff that's landing on your skin is not coming off, and the oils are not able to circulate and move through the skin and up through and come out onto the surface of the skin. So all of these things together, you want to take off the junk that's landing on your skin. You want to maintain the pH level and the acid mantle and remove the dead skin cells so that your oil can move through the skin properly. All of these things are helped along by a proper cleansing routine. So even if you're not wearing makeup, a proper cleansing routine is really, really important. And one of the sources that I was using is from a group called Westlake Dermatology, but they had some pretty good information, and I'm going to link them along with some other sources down below. And they had this little snippet on their website, which I wanted to read because it is, quite frankly, nightmare fuel for me. And it says, if you completely stopped washing your face, your pores would become clogged, resulting in the development of serious acne. The skin could also experience a combination of severe redness, dryness, and irritation from insufficient hydration. Finally, your skin would generally appear dirty, oily, greasy, and significantly aged. Most likely, you would develop an incredible itchiness to the point where you would be forced to constantly scratch your face. This could lead to breaks of the skin, which serve as entry points for infection. Moral of the story, practice proper skin cleansing. I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. We're going to have what I'm going to call a small PSA. Yes, that's frightening, and that sounds terrible and gross and awful, but I live in a city that has a pretty large homeless population. This is a pretty mild area as far as climate goes, and our city is known for, apparently, for having a lot of resources for the homeless and for being a fairly friendly city to the homeless and the struggling. And so we get a lot of homeless people. I also work with a theater group that does public performances in the summer, and we go down to a large public square and do performances. And the last several summers I've worked with them on that, and I've worked with them in years past as well. And I can tell you, any kind of public performance like that in a public space, you get, people in the homeless and vulnerable population coming by because that's where a lot of them live, quite frankly. And they have skin that looks like that because they don't have access to a home, and they don't have access to the items that they would need to maintain a healthy skin. So let me put it to you this way. You should clean your skin because you are privileged enough to have a place to do it and the resources to buy the items necessary to do it. And now that we're done with the PSA portion of our video, let's go back to the really important information. Now, really seriously, I'm hoping that's just something that I thought of when I read that. I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot of the people that we deal with. A lot of the people, the homeless and vulnerable, the people who are insufficiently housed. They may have some sort of housing situation, but it's not sufficient or it's lacking in some way. So, be thankful for the fact that you have the resources and the privilege to be able to do that, because not everybody does. Okay, now on to maybe slightly less serious things. So now we need to know, how do you choose the right cleanser? There's a lot of things that go into that. First of all, I would look at, what are you trying to do with your skin? What time of day are you cleaning, and what are you trying to clean off? Before I would even think about the type of skin you have, because those two kind of go hand in hand. I have a different cleansing routine in the evening as opposed to the morning. And I'll use myself as an example just simply because it's the best example that I have. I have the greatest amount of experience with myself. In the evening, I am taking off makeup in addition to all the other stuff, the dirt and the pollution and the stuff that you're coming in contact with. So my cleansing routine starts before I even use a face cleanser. And what I do is I want to break down the makeup that I'm wearing. That's especially true if I'm wearing mascara, because I do wear waterproof mascara pretty frequently because my eyelashes won't stay curled otherwise. So I have to use something that breaks that down and also helps to break down the makeup on the rest of my face, just to start lifting that off, because that's the biggest thing that I want to get off, because I don't want any of that left, if at all possible. So cleansing for some of us is going to start before we use the face cleanser, because we want to break down the stuff, especially makeup, that we're wearing on top of our skin. And for me, what I use to break that down is just plain coconut oil. I do not use any kind of commercially prepared makeup remover. You certainly can. There are all sorts out there. There are some that are made specifically to remove eye makeup. Some of them are used for sort of all over face makeup. I prefer just to use the coconut oil because it's simple, it's natural, it doesn't have any extra ingredients in it, it's fairly inexpensive, and it does the job. It's a nice oily remover. I will put up a picture or something of some pretty standard kinds of coconut oil. You can find it pretty much anywhere now. And it's, like I said, it works really well. Be careful though, your eye doctor may not want you to use something like that around your eye area, because it could end up clogging the follicles around your eye, and you could end up with what are called styes. I have had styes in the past, but it's been due to not properly cleansing and not really getting all the stuff out from around my eye area. So what I do is I take a little bit of the coconut oil and I rub it in my hands, and then I sort of spread it all over my face, especially around the eye area, to break down the makeup in that area. I then take a cotton pad and soak that with a micellar water. That's part of what I call my double cleanse. This is a pretty common thing now that people double cleanse. So I use the coconut oil to break down, and then I use the micellar water to wipe off that first layer, and then I go in with my face cleanser. You don't have to do that. I prefer not to use my cleanser to take off everything, because I just don't think it's going to do a good enough job. Plus I don't want to have to rub, especially around my eye area. Rubbing is not great on any skin, but especially aging skin, because that skin around your eye especially is really delicate. You want to be careful. We'll get to cleansing and aging skin specifically in a few minutes, but I prefer not to use the cleanser to remove everything. So I use the double cleanse. I break down my makeup, take off that first layer of gunk, and then I cleanse. And how I cleanse is I take a baby washcloth and wet it down and use some hot water to kind of wash right around the eye area, so that I can really get around those hair follicles. And really try to open those up and get any gunk out of there that may have gotten in there over the course of the day. So, and then I wash my entire face, and that's how I cleanse. So you need to think about what time of day you're cleansing and what you're trying to cleanse off, and then also think about the skin type that you have. And there's a little bit of controversy about skin type, because we have kind of gotten used to thinking of skin as being very broadly like oily, dry, or normal/combination. But any of us with common sense have probably noticed that our skin changes. It may change based on the time of year. It changes on the climate that you're in. It changes, of course, with age. Your skin can change with age. There are all sorts of different variables. And so you may have dry skin in some areas and more oily skin in other areas. So this idea that skin is really easily broken down into certain types may not always hold, and it may not hold for everybody, and it may not hold for you throughout your life. So, but you probably have a general idea about what kind of skin you have, whether it's a little more dry or a little more oily, or maybe it's very oily or very dry, or it doesn't seem to be too much one or the other. Maybe you have some places that are or aren't. Some of it's going to be trial and error, figuring it out if you haven't really thought about it before. So just keep that in mind. You may have to do some experimentation to figure out what works best for your skin. For those of us with oilier skin, I include myself in that, we are typically going to like a cleanser that is going to foam or has a gel sort of consistency and foams up, because it's going to do a little bit of a deeper clean. And because of our oil production, our higher oil production, we need to clean more of that off. So we are typically going to, I know I like a more foaming type of cleanser. If you are a dry skin person, you may want more of a cream type of cleanser or a low or no lather cleanser. Some people with really dry skin actually prefer a no water cleansing method. And if you have drier skin, I think you should check out another channel here on YouTube, Alison the Rabbit Hole. She is really fantastic. She has great skincare recommendations, and she has a drier skin type, so she has a lot of great information about products and routines for dry skin. And she did a whole waterless cleansing routine, her AM waterless cleansing routine for dry skin, and I will link to her channel down below. And I think that's a really valuable resource if you have dry skin, because I don't have personal experience with dry skin. I can tell you what people who have dry skin will talk about and some of the information that's out there on the internet about it, but I don't have personal connection to that because my skin has always been on the oilier side. So you want to think about what you're trying to do, what time of day you are cleansing, generally what kind of skin you have, what type of skin you have, how old you are, etc., etc. And that will help you get a sense of what you need to do to cleanse your skin. In the mornings, I mentioned that I have a different routine for evening and morning. In the morning, I am currently using a Pacifica cleanser called, it's the Crystal, Sparkling Clean Crystal Foam, something like that. I'll link to it, and I will put a little picture of it because I don't have it with me right now. But that's what I've been using in the morning. Cleansing is the one part of skincare where I think you can kind of go away from the whole idea of fragrance and use something with some fragrance. Pretty much every Pacifica product has fragrance in it, but I've had really good luck with their cleansers, especially for morning cleansing. I'm using the Crystal Foam cleanser right now. I previously used the coconut milk one that I really liked, and I also, previous to that, used their quinoa sensitive, but they no longer make that one. So the coconut milk one was really nice. It was a creamy cleanser, but it foamed up. And I find that those kinds tend not to strip my skin too much, especially in the morning. Because in the morning, basically what I'm doing is just taking off any sweat or excess oil that's been produced overnight. I also put oils on in the evening as part of my skincare, which I will get into in some future videos. But I just want to clean that off, and I don't want to do too much. And in the evening, just to let you know, I don't think I mentioned this, I like to use I'm currently using the Trader Joe's cleanser. I know I've had that in an empties video, which I will conveniently link for you. Shameless self-promotion. And I really enjoy that one. It's a plain, basic, simple cleanser. And that is kind of my motto for cleansing. Simple, basic, nothing fancy, nothing special. It is a cleanser. You are going to be washing it down the drain. I don't think you need something that's super fancy, has lots of crazy ingredients, or all sorts of skin benefiting ingredients, because it's not going to sit on your face unless you're planning on putting cleanser on your face and sitting there for 12 hours, which I wouldn't recommend. I don't think that's good for anybody to do, probably. But I don't really think you need all of it. Everything that I've read, not so much what I think, it's all the information that I have access to and I have read so far says that really cleansing is just a very simple thing, and the skincare benefits that are being put into some cleansers are really not necessary. Truth be told, I watched the footage where I was going through all of the different sources that I had that were kind of my what the heck sources, and I don't think I need to get into that much detail. Let me just tell you broadly what I was looking at and what sort of set me off and led me to being a little bit, as the kids say now, salty, or perhaps sassy. Maybe I should call it sassy. Anybody remember the magazine Sassy? I wonder if anybody else does. But anyways, so the thing that's kind of set me off was this tendency to, again, fearmonger. I spoke in that video about aging. If I haven't mentioned it already in the video, I will mention it later. More shameless self-promotion. I will link it in a card. I will also link it down below. These skincare companies and beauty companies, etc., 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 they know that we're scared of aging because society has told us to be scared of aging, and so they play on that. I don't honestly know if the products that these lists are mentioning or recommending are good, bad, or otherwise. Some of them I think probably aren't very good because some of them do feature things like fragrant oils, or appear to feature things like fragrant oils. I'd have to do a little more research. Or they have certain ingredients in them that are probably just going to get washed down the drain. Cleansers get washed down the drain. You don't need to have from all the research that I have done so far, I have not seen anything that suggests that you need to have all sorts of skin nourishing ingredients in your cleanser because the cleanser is being taken off of your skin. You really want those ingredients to be in things like your toner, your moisturizer, your serum, things like that. Things that are going to stay on the skin and do the work. So really, what you need from a cleanser is that it cleans your skin. You want it to do that gently, and that's true for anybody at any age. And so to have this idea that those who have mature skin or aging skin need a special cleanser, I take some issue with that. I would like to do more research on that. If any of you out there watching have any specific questions about that, or have questions about a specific product or ingredient, whatever, please do leave them down below and I will give you the best answer I can, or do research and come back to you with what I have found out. I'd be happy to do that. I enjoy getting into the weeds on stuff like this. But really what I want to get across with this part of the video is that for the most part, good skincare is good skincare no matter what age you are. Some of the products will probably change as you move from one stage of your life to another. Our skin does change as we age. Our skin does, collagen and elastin aren't being produced like they used to. Our elasticity starts to go down. Our skin cells don't turn over like they used to when we were young, so we need help in that area. So yes, our skin is changing, but this tendency to try to create this fear and also to create this idea that you need something special because of the age you're at is not always valid. Not always. Sometimes it is. So just know that if you want to check those sources out, there may be some good products on there. Some of those products won't be great. It's all about looking at ingredients. It's looking at what your skin needs, what type of skin you have, what are you trying to clean, as far as what are you trying to take off? Are you trying to take off makeup? Are you not trying to take off makeup? Are you already using an exfoliator so you don't need exfoliator stuff in your cleansers, etc., etc. There's also some trial and error. You need to really pay attention to where you're getting your what the source is of the information that you're looking at. And I will be mentioning later about what I think are one really good source, especially for skincare information. But wherever you go for this information, make sure you're looking at it and being critical of it, and understand that a lot of these articles that are really geared towards the mature or aging skin, they're doing that because it's good marketing and it's good advertising, and they know that's what people are looking for. It doesn't mean that the information they're giving you is actually valid. It may be or it may not be, and that may have nothing to do with the fact that the products that they're recommending are specifically for aging skin. They may not have any special benefit for aging skin. They may be a good cleanser, but honestly, aging skin needs much the same care as far as cleansing goes as younger skin. You may need to consider gentler products. You may need to consider how you're using them and use them maybe in different ways. But ultimately, what it comes down to is consider the source, be critical, question everything, and don't assume that because you have aging skin, you need a super special regimen or super special products just for your skin because you have aging skin. That may not be the case. And if you need better information, definitely talk to a professional like a dermatologist, because they have the training and they have the information that is based in what should be based in scientific fact. You also have to be critical of them because a lot of dermatology offices now are selling products and regimens themselves. So again, question and be critical, but go to a professional if you really need to, and don't just rely on lists, especially if you have special skin concerns or anything like that. So that's what I was really trying to get at in this part of the video, and now we can go on to the rest of the video from here on out. I think the thing to keep in mind is when you're looking for recommendations, I will give you some broad recommendations of products that I see over and over again that are mentioned in a lot of different lists of best cleansers and face washes, etc. The CeraVe cleansers, they have a hydrating and a foaming, hydrating for drier skin, foaming for more oily skin. Those both tend to get very good recommendations. I don't use CeraVe because they do test on animals. Cetaphil is another one that has been mentioned for years and years, and supposedly it is recommended by dermatologists because, again, it's a really basic, simple cleanser. I used Cetaphil years ago. I found that I didn't really like it for my skin because it didn't clean quite enough. They do have a foaming cleanser that is more appropriate for oily skins, but it had, at that time at least, it had a really strong fragrance and I didn't really like that. So I don't know if it's the same way now, but I did use it years ago. Again, I don't use Cetaphil because they do their company tests on animals, so I haven't used it for many years, but it is another one that's mentioned quite a lot. I mentioned Olay earlier. Olay's products do tend to get really good mentions. Also, if you are looking for what I personally consider some of the best unbiased recommendations for products, I highly recommend going to beautypedia.com, and I'll link that down below. That is part of the Paula's Choice company, and they have a lot of great information about skincare and recommendations for cleansers, moisturizers, toners, etc., etc. Yes, they will recommend their own stuff, but they do also recommend and give good ratings to a lot of other products. So I think they're a really good resource. And when you go out looking for information, I would just caution you about going into any kind of list and really think of the source where you're getting this information from. If it is a website that has advertising on it, if it's connected to a magazine like Vogue or Allure magazine, they take advertising from a lot of the companies whose products they talk about. So just consider that when you're looking at recommendations. If they're taking in advertising, if you pick up a physical copy of the magazine, it's not unusual to see an article that's singing the praises of a certain product by a certain company, and then right opposite that article is an advertisement for something, maybe the same product or a different product from that same company. So just think of that. Just remember that. Consider your sources. Question everything. I feel like I should make that the motto of my channel, question everything, because you really need to question everything, and especially when it comes to all of these anti-aging claims. As I mentioned, I have not seen anything so far that convinces me that having a cleansing product that has a lot of skin beneficial ingredients like ceramides and peptides and et cetera, is really necessary, because it's not able to sit on the skin and do what it needs to do. As I mentioned in my previous video about what is aging skin, another piece of shameless self-promotion, I'll link that up here. When you look into the causes of aging skin and all of that, and how to work with that, and you start looking at the copy and the advertising and the verbiage that is used to try to sell products to those of us with aging skin, there's a lot of fear. Fear is a really effective way to motivate people. I don't know if you've noticed this, but that is happening a lot in the world around us. People are trying to use fear to get people to feel a certain way. It's a really effective way. And these companies know that we're really afraid of getting old because of what society has been telling us about aging. And I could go into a whole big long digression about that, but I won't, because we don't have time. I've already gone long enough on this. But the biggest thing that you need to do with cleansing is just do it. Choose a simple, basic, really simple, basic cleanser, and clean your face. And get all the dead skin cells, get as many of those dead skin cells off and all the crap that's sitting on top of your face off. And then you can continue on with your routine and put the stuff that's going to do a lot of that work that we want it to do on top of that clean skin. That's really the thing that you need to think about. So all of these fancy cleansers and expensive things and all the stuff that they put into them, I haven't seen any evidence that that's necessary. Simple and basic, as far as I can tell. As far as from my own personal experience, that seems to be the best way to go about doing it. So don't let them scare you into thinking you have to use a special cleanser for anti-aging. Don't think that you need to do anything that is substantially all that much different from what a person who's not aging at the moment, or who is younger. Let's put it that way. Everybody's aging. If you're a 2-year-old, you're aging, but not aging in the way we think of it. But that's really my ultimate recommendation. Really do think about the source where you're getting your information from. Think about what, do they accept advertising? What kind of verbiage are they using to try to sell this to you? And read ingredient lists. Again, on Beautypedia, it's either Beautypedia or the Paula's Choice website. They have an ingredient directory where you can go searching for, and if you just Google an ingredient, you can find out information about it, whether it's, you know, what kind of ingredient it is, what does it do, what benefits does it have, if any, is it just there for fragrance, is it just there for whatever other reason it might be there for. Really get critical about that. Start learning how your skin reacts to certain ingredients, and it will take some trial and error. I've been helping a friend out with that, and she's had to do some trial and error as far as order of products and how she's doing things, and how long she leaves products on, and the order, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a certain amount of trial and error that you might have to go through, but if you really give some thought to it, you can find a good routine. But honestly, the best cleansing routine is to keep it as simple as possible, and pay attention to ingredients, do your research, and listen to your skin. If your skin is in good shape, then you're probably on the right track. And if it's not, then you might need to look into something else. We'll put all sorts of resources down below. I know I probably didn't give you as many product recommendations as I could have, but I was doing a lot of sort of laying the groundwork here, and I may do some future videos that are more focused on just product recommendations and why I recommend them, simply because this is a lot of info. I tend to do a lot of info. Maybe I should have been a teacher. I didn't ever want to be a teacher, but I kind of enjoy this. I'm hoping somebody else enjoys it too. But if you did enjoy it, you can subscribe. I think right over here somewhere there's going to be a little button where you can do that. If you liked this video, you can of course click the like button, because the algorithm loves that, and so would I. And if you want to watch another video that might have something to do with what I've just talked about, or it might not, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, that will be over in this area of the screen. The throwback track for this video is Smashing Pumpkins' Love. It is from one of their most famous albums, which was Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. It's a double album, actually. It came out in 93, 94, somewhere in the like the mid 90-ish time frame. I didn't really get into that album until a few years later, but my absolute favorite song off of that album is Love. It's not one of the more well-known songs off that album, but it is by far my favorite, at least currently. Sometimes my favorite songs will change, but that one I really enjoy. I will link to that down below. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. This video was brought to you by the natural light I have in my room, and I really appreciate it because it has kept me from having to buy a lighting kit, which may end up having to happen because we're moving into winter and daylight is going to become a precious commodity. But for right now, this video brought to you by Natural Lighting. Thanks guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you back here for the next one. Bye.